what were the key lines from Iran's supreme leader? Fred?
Well, first of all, I think one of the things that you said at the beginning is absolutely key, that the fact that the Iranian supreme leader gave that sermon today and held the Friday prayers and led the Friday prayers, that in itself already shows just how important he feels the situation is now, and of course also how big a blow for himself and for Iran the killing of Hassan Nasrallah, leader of Hezbollah, was. You absolutely correctly stated that the last time Ali Khamenei led those Friday prayers was in 2020, which was, of course, shortly after the assassination of Qasem Soleimani, the leader of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Quds Force, someone who was also very close to Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. So that in itself was a big deal. And I think we could see that also as far as the turnout was concerned at the Mosalla compound, Becky. We've, of course, been in that compound so many times in the past for Friday prayers, and I really have never seen it as full as we saw on some of those images today. Now, as far as the key lines are concerned, I think there were really two main things that the Supreme Leader wanted to convey. On the one hand, he was calling for unity among Muslim nations in the fight, as he put it, against the aggressor, which of course can only mean the United States and Israel first and foremost. I want to listen into some of what he had to say as far as the relations between Iran, Lebanon, and the Palestinians are concerned. Let's listen in.
I'm stating that the enemy of the Iranian nation is the enemy of the Palestinian nation, the same enemy of the Lebanese nation. The same government is the enemy of the Iraqi nation, the enemy of the Egyptian nation, the enemy of the Syrian nation, the enemy of the Yemeni nation. The enemy is one. The ways of the enemy in different countries is different.
So there you see the Supreme Leader calling for the nations of that region to unite, obviously against Israel and against Israel's backers, the United States. The other big message that I think we heard from Ayatollah Ali Khamenei was the fact that he praised those missile strikes that the Iranians conducted against Israeli territory, calling them legitimate, but also said that there would be much heavier Iranian strikes if Israel decides to retaliate. Obviously, right now, the Islamic Republic of Iran is bracing for a possible large strike. And one of the things that we also have to keep in mind in that, Becky, which I think is really important, is that the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, or the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Force, the aerospace force that conducted that missile strike, is the same one that's also responsible for air defenses in Iran as well, Becky.
Let's pull these threads together. My next guest, Middle East scholar Vali Nasser, wrote in Foreign Policy magazine, quote, leaders in Tehran believe that Washington will restrain Israel in order to prevent a regional conflagration. Well, Vali Nasser joins me now. And Vali, let's just interrogate what you wrote. Why do you think Iran holds that belief? And further, is it a safe bet from Iran that Washington will restrain Israel at this point?
Well, Iran understands, as do many Americans and many other leaders in the region, that the United States does not want a war in the Middle East, that it has been trying to move away from military entanglements in the Middle East. So starting with that, it means that Iran believes that, unlike Israel, which might be pursuing a military solution to the crisis that it's in, that the United States wants to avert that. And secondly, because when Iran and Israel exchanged missiles in April, and then when Israel killed the leader of Hamas, Ismail Haniyeh, in Tehran, both times the United States lobbied with Iran intensely, and either not to respond at all, as in the case of Haniyeh, or at least to temper its response, as it did in April. So at least looking at that record of the past number of months, every time that there's been a potential for a region-wide war, the United States has stepped in.
On October the 1st, in the wake of the barrage of ballistic missiles that were fired from Iran to Israel, you asked a couple of questions, which I think are really pertinent at this point. You said, why did Iran's leaders choose to so brazenly confront Israel now? And how is Iran likely to act going forward? 3 days on, do we have a decent answer to either of those questions at this point?
Well, the killing of Hassan Nasrallah and also the killing of a large number of Hezbollah leaders and commanders, and Israel's push into Lebanon clearly was a big challenge to Iran. It was a major military victory for Israel. So Iran had to assert itself in a way that would, first of all, not allow Israel to overread into this success and then want to, for instance, attack Iran. It also wanted to give the Lebanese, and particularly the battered Hezbollah commanders that are remaining, a sense of support that Iran has not folded, has not abandoned the field, particularly because many in the Arab world began to accuse Iran of not having defended Hezbollah. So I think it was a show of force by Iran to both tell the United States and Israel that it has the capability and will to escalate this conflict in ways that the U.S. doesn't want, but also to assert in the region with its allies as well as observers that the defeat of Hezbollah in Lebanon so far should not be interpreted as Iran backing away from its positions in the region.
Mm. So what stood out to you listening to the Supreme Leader earlier, given what we've just discussed?
I think these were all the themes that he put forward. He was very defiant. He asserted that Iran remains committed to supporting Hezbollah. And in fact, by speaking in Arabic, he basically was underscoring that he sees a continuum between Iran's military posture and Hezbollah's military posture, and that he's going to back Hezbollah, whatever it takes. He also was essentially sending a signal to United States and Israel that Iran continues to be willing to attack Israel, or if it comes to the United States, if they pursue an aggressive policy, particularly against Iran. But he also told the Iranian people that Iran will act prudently and he will engage militarily only if it's necessary. So he was trying to hit many different buttons here, both with the Iranian population, with the United States and Israel, and also with the Lebanese and in the Arab world. Iran stands firm, stands tall, is willing to act, fight. But to the Iranians, he was saying that we're not going to push for a war that you don't want.
Mm. Yeah, it's fascinating, isn't it? I mean, you know, not only in Arabic did he very specifically speak to the Palestinians, the Lebanese, he also name-checked Iraq and Egypt and sort of co-opted the kind of Arab world in his narrative today, which I thought was fascinating. Ministers from Gulf Arab states and Iran attended a meeting in Doha in Qatar this week. And I just want to get your sense of what was seen and said there. Reuters reporting that the Gulf Arabs sought to reassure Iran of their, quote, neutrality in this conflict. That was according to unnamed officials. Look, my sources around this region, and I'm sure you speak to many in the region who have said for months that they have real concerns about wider escalation, which could ultimately, obviously, affect Gulf countries, their oil facilities. What's the strategic calculus that you see here with these Gulf Arabs in speaking to, reaching out to the Iranians at present, and certainly not making an enemy of Tehran at what is a very, very important time for the region?
It's actually more than not make an enemy. They now really want to make friends. And this is actually a continuum of a policy that the Gulf countries have been following now for a number of years since the rapprochement between UAE, Saudi Arabia, and Iran. And the logic of it is that they don't like Iran, they don't like its politics, they don't like Hezbollah. But they have come to the conclusion that, that first of all, that the United States may not defend them if it comes to war. That was what they learned when Iran attacked Saudi oil facilities in 2021. And secondly, that any kind of a conflict in the Gulf would damage their economic models, would damage the vision that they have for their economies, for their futures, and what they are investing in. So they don't want to be the target of Iranian attacks. They also don't really want war in the region. So in an ironic way, as tensions between Iran and the United States, Iran and Israel is going up, the friendship between Gulf countries and Iran is going up in a commensurate way, which tells you that the Gulf countries don't want to sign up to the strategy that Israel has with Iran and its proxies, which is to take the fight to them. And if it comes to war, so be it. and they want to see a de-escalation, or at least they want to protect the Gulf from what might happen between Iran and Israel. It's a risky strategy, but it's very clear that that's where they're going.